Hey, hey, beautiful people. It is July the 3rd, 2013 at 10:50 in the morning. Wow. Uh so much has happened since my last video and trying to keep track of it all and trying to explain it all. Um it's almost beyond. Several of us have gone galactic. The evening of my last video on June 30th, there was a shift in energies that many of us feel. I was reading Lisa Gaulis's post today. She got it. Jamie Price has got it. They're just, it's over and over. Magenta Pixie posted a video just after I posted my video, uploaded it the other day, which I added to the Seymour on that video, and it's describing exactly what many of us are going through. That evening, after I did that last video and was describing the removal of that dark particle that allowed duality from within me, the dark crystal that Trish Tinkerbell saw, and the work that Daniela and I had done on finding the fragments of me to bring them back in to center so I could become whole and sovereign again and expand to the greatest abilities I possibly could, which meant completing the cycle with Beelzebub and Lucifer, all those things that anchored in duality. That evening, there was an integration with my next higher self, which is Arcturian. I came to this universe through the Arcturian portal so long ago to experience duality. But I came into this universe in my angelic form. All of my life, I have known, a good part of my life I have known, not all, but a good part of it, that I had ET connections. Well, all of my life I knew. It's just I perceived it as separate from self. And as I was playing on the other side of the veil, I was receiving my messages from my Arcturian self and from my angelic self. I have always recognized myself as an angel incarnate. And more recently, with the comprehension that I'm a fractal of Archangel Michael. Dad. I am a Melchizedek, which all a Melchizedek is someone who's ascended through the various dimensions before in their ascension process. And many of us are incarnate here on Earth right now. In fact, everybody on planet's a Melchizedek, like I've said before. They've ascended before in their star systems and their lineages, star lineages that they represent. Some of us have gone all the way through the universal ascensions and galactic ascensions, and we came back, and we're doing it again. Drenvalo's mentioned this many times, and it's those of us that are the way showers. Many of us, there are many previously ascended masters walking on planet right now discussing their experience and who are making these vibrational energies. They're the channels for the energies into Mother Earth, and expressing themselves in various ways to help remove the veils from humanity's consciousness. With that last removal and identifications, removal of the dark crystal, or that atomic God particle, which it truly is. But Tinkerbell sees everything Peter Pan does. It's huge! And so when Tinkerbell saw it, she thought of it as being just this great big crystal, when it was just this little atomic God particle that was put in me from the Men in Black at the beginning of the Duality experiment so long ago. There were many of my fractals that were out there as a fractal of Archangel Michael and Lucifer, who was Lucifer's the brightest of the bright angels. Lucifer agreed to anchor the dark polarities for the Duality experiment, and Lucifer and Beelzebub have now been released. They are no longer here, and the only thing that's remaining is the memories of the perceptions of them within the emotional fields of those who are still walking in duality. They don't have to play that game anymore. It's a choice. You can eliminate all those old memories and clean it up, those old energies, those old karmic ties, and clean it up and release it right now. And part of the releasing, we created this giant vacuum cleaner above Earth. It just sits like, here's Earth right here. It sits over Earth, and it is in a tube that goes through a wormhole to the galactic center, to the black hole at the galactic center. And all those negative emotions, when we decide to eliminate them, goes up through that portal. So with duality being released, it's up for each individual to do their own personal work at this time. Jamie Price is right on, Lisa Wallace. I mean, so many. Lean Lafont, it just goes on and on. For those of us who have actually stepped into these new Earth frequencies, taking our next huge level up, it's just unmistakable, and we all caught it at the same time. We all recognized what's going on. For me, I went with my embodiment of my Arcturian self. There was an expansion that went within this localized universe that I was expressing in my last video. All of that which revolves around the Pleiades and all of that vibration that has been within duality. And my Arcturian self is part of the containment unit for that. But that integration went farther, and it went to my angelic self, which is the energy that came through the Arcturian portal into this galaxy so long ago for the duality experiment. As soon as I integrated that, there was an expansion of my field and an expansion of new rays of light. In certain dimensional levels that we attune to here on Earth, we have a limited amount of resources, the rays, the light, the frequencies of the light energy that we hold within our field, which are various colors. And they are what makes up creation on the various dimensional levels. But my being expanded out not just to that localized universe that revolves around the Pleiades, Alcyon, Seven Sisters, but galactic. That evening of June 30th, Danielle and I were doing work, and we actually kind of switched places. She's always been expanded and more out of body because the frequencies that she held, holding so much of her spirit within this life, the frequencies that she held felt very uncomfortable to be within body. That's the same for Tinkerbell. Trish Wills, the same. So many of us were. I was. But I had to remain fully in body to channel the energies down into Mother Earth, to do my vortex cleansings and reactivations, re-uppings, and portal creations. Many persons who are seers, they couldn't handle the frequencies of the density of Mother Earth, and they chose to spend little time within body, but playing more around the localized universe, or in the astral realms, or even in other levels, with the playing with the ETs. And the fairies and the elves and the other dimensions, which held a much more wonderful vibration than the density of Mother Earth during this 3D experiment. But my mission has always been to ascend Mother Earth, and by doing that, to allow the channeling of the frequencies into Mother Earth for all of humanity to raise their frequency, which in turn raises their consciousness, which in turn begins when they choose their ascension process. So that's been my mission. Other persons were out being in contact with ETs and playing on the other levels, and they were seers. I was not a seer. I was a knower. I received energies, the encodings of the light coming in, and I had knowledge, wisdom of what was coming through. I could break it down. And what occurred on June 30th that evening was I went past that localized universe that my Arcturian light self, which I am embodying and integrating now, out to the galactic levels. I just started seeing Mother Earth on a consistent basis, and I'm attuned to it. I'm in this body, but my third eye and everything sees very vividly the galaxy and where we are within that galaxy on the edge. That evening, the wormhole that we know is being created by the raising of our frequencies and our consciousness that is going through the middle star of Orion's belt, known as On, the Anterion Stargate. That wormhole is going out from there to a place closer within the closer to the center within the Milky Way Galaxy. It's a higher dimension, higher vibration, higher speed. Heaven. Daniela asked me if I could place that wormhole to a fixed point, because I was explaining how the wormhole, its coordinates are the coordinates of the frequency, the vibration that all of us incarnate on Earth right now hold. It's a collective vibration, which is that location on the opposite end of the wormhole as it goes through the Anterion Stargate. Daniela asked me if I could visualize it, which it was like right there. When I hit that point and integrated that angelic level of my being, which I used to communicate with on the outside, but it actually is become an embodiment of that Arcturian and angelic self in this field now. And my chakras do not feel like they're in the body. My chakras are out there. My consciousness is not within this body in the heart anymore. It's out there. It's out there. There. At the present time, I don't have a lot of description for it because I'm integrating it. I discussed in my last video how I feel my chakras are now emanating outside of the body. Well, that took even a further step up when I assimilated my Arcturian light body self. And that side of me is a Starship Galactic Commander. And I integrated my angelic self. My angelic self allows me to see the galaxy. And Daniela asked me if I could fix the other end of that wormhole to a point, which was very easily done. And anyone who understands the Urantia book, is a most amazing channeling that occurred in the late 1800s and early 1900s of how this universe works. From the creator of the universe and the idea, his concept, the divine plan for it, which was Michael of Nebadon, who created the universe, who, as he descended to experience his creation, became Yeshua or Jesus, the Christ, the Buddha. That Urantia book explains how the angelic realms, how the soul realms, how the monadic realms descend into the depths we have as density. And even that seems so old news now. I mean, that was just a part of a process of memory and going, oh yeah, I remember that. That a friend gave me in the mid 1990s, and I read, all 2,200 pages of it. Or actually, I had my computer read it because we had text to voice going on at that time, and that was the first book that I allowed my computer to read to me. Because I was so tired in the evenings, but I needed to hear the information, and so that was fantastic. The computer age has been quite wonderful. Well, anyway, the Urantia book explains how the spiritual realms within this universe works. And within them, it speaks of so many of the same things that are talked about in all the other holy books. Paradise, the paradise worlds, the mansion worlds, those places that are at the core of the Milky Way Galaxy as we spin around it. We're on the outer edge, but they are closer to the center, heaven, in the higher vibrations. In my last video, I was discussing how the collective vibration will be fixed coordinates of the other side of that wormhole through the Anterion Stargate. That Daniela asked me to fix in, which I did, but it's still over a big area. I mean, you got to understand this Anterion Stargate is large enough and wide enough to move a whole sector of, called our local universe, of this galaxy. And there's going to be different places. We might not all be going to the same place there. there's many, many different places that we can go to and experience there. I mean, there's 100 trillion stars within this galaxy. There's 100 trillion galaxies within this one universe. That's pretty big. And it's the same description as what's going on within our own physical beings. We have 100 trillion cells within our physical being with 100 trillion atoms within each cell of the physical being. Each cell is like a galaxy. So it's a fractal, all the way up. Anyway, Daniela had asked me to affix the other end of the wormhole, but the wormhole is so large that it covers that which you can see as paradise and even the separate mansion worlds. And these are just two different frequencies. And coordinates are frequencies. Locations are frequencies. It's all about the vibration we hold. I affixed it to the center of the Milky Way Galaxy that incorporates those worlds. But as I settle back in, trying to experience this integration of my Arcturian self and my angelic self, the consciousness has expanded so much. The rays of light have expanded so much. And they're going from heaven, from the galactic center, or from the whole of the galaxy, down in to Mother Earth. We were all walking antenna, those of us going through our ascension process. We're all channeling these frequencies to Mother Earth. By doing that, we're raising the frequency of Mother Earth. By doing that, Mother Earth is going to have to switch locations. And the planetary MERKABA is in the astrological charts. The Star of David is shown in those astrological charts for July 29th, 2013. And it's in a hexagon, not an octagon, like I'd said in my previous video. And then funny, as I look at Lisa Wallace post today about feeling the energies of Shambhala, paradise energies, the energies of heaven, which so many of us are describing that we're channeling into Earth and experiencing now as we expand our consciousness and step into the integrations of our higher selves. As we start living that here on Earth, right here and now, Lisa calls it Shambhala. And yes, it is. And Shambhala used to be a local place in a different dimension within the layers of this Earth. Because this Earth has 3D, it had the 4D astral, it had the 5D, 6D, 7D, all the way, up to the levels of vibration in the densities of this sector of the universe. And it could only go so high within those dimensions, but now we're receiving the energies because of all the walking antenna on planet. We're receiving the energies of heaven, of paradise, of the mansion worlds, channeling into Mother Earth right now as we expand our consciousness and raise our frequency to the new higher and purer, higher dimensional light levels that many of us are attuning to and integrating right now. And it is paradise. And it is that which will allow this wormhole to form, because it's a MERKABA. We are creating the energies, we are energizing the planetary MERKABA, which will form astrologically on the charts July 29th, 2013. It began with us opening the 1111 doorways and doing that ceremony, which was the ceremony of the MERKABA, which raised the frequency of the planet, which before that ceremony, which was the 1111 doorway opening. That was January 11th, 1992. Before we did the wheels within wheels of the living being, the living beings that are within the wheels of the wheels, it works both ways. One could not activate their heart chakra. They were limited before that point on January 11th, 1992 to the fourth ascension initiation, or just embodiment of the soul and allowing soul to guide your life, living your life by intuition. After that date, after we raised the frequencies there, creating the MERKABA, we as individuals could activate our heart chakra, which naturally activated our electromagnetic torrid. You see here, well, you see the little lines, which are in the couch behind me as my light body bends the light behind me. One side is male, one side's female. Divine masculine, divine feminine. Before then, we could not activate our heart chakra. Activate it. This is not opening. Opening is the allowing of energies to flow through your physical being. Activation is the turning of that open heart chakra, open other chakras, into little nuclear power plants, and it begins your true mastery and ascension process. It begins the enlightenment of the physical being, the activation of the light body. Before January 11th, 1992, we could not activate our heart chakras. The ceremony for Bible thumpers was Ezekiel, Wheels Within Wheels. I posted it under the Seymour. All that information was posted under the Seymour of my last video. After we did that, persons, very few at first, were activating their heart chakras planet-wide. And as those first leaders did, and they were raising their frequencies, many times they were detoxing stuff that's come from the whole duality experiment, and many of those persons ended up dropping body as they were going through their process of ascension, which was the old way of doing it. You either had to create a light body and transfigure this body and take this body with you, which so many of my heroes like Enoch did. He was taken in a whirlwind. Anybody who sees my posts for the past 6 years on MSN Instant Messenger, that was my quote there. And he was taken in a whirlwind. And I posted that after Hurricane Katrina and walking on the eastern eye wall on the beach taking pictures. And what a blast that was. But I posted that on my MSN Instant Messenger then, and I don't use that anymore because I'm not in business anymore. I don't play in that realm of experience. Those of us who are expanding, we are touching new realms of experience that is just beyond. It is beyond the beyond. It is the beyond is what's on the other side of the Anterion conversion Stargate. We're into the beyond now. These energies are most magical and most pure. And my message now is to stay in that realm, and to hold that space, and to be consciously connected of both my Arcturian self, which is working with all the other ET brethren and who I've been getting messages from for so long, who is me. It's just the next stage up, who we're merging now. And my angelic self, which is truly galactic, which makes this galaxy look small. When I'm working with my, and it's just right there. It's there. My vision was so not there for so long. I had knowingness, and I had to go with that knowingness because vision can be in other timelines, can be in other fractals, can be in other possibilities, and the knowingness is within this timeline and this experience. And that's why I had to maintain the knowingness. And now I can see again. And that happened because of the removal of the black atomic God particle, the negative side, the cleaning up of my fractals, the cleaning up of those energies in motion, the bringing back of all my selves into the physical being, which could allow the integration with my galactic self that I've been getting messages for so long, and my angelic self, which I get messages for so long. But they couldn't integrate until that happened within me. I had to clean up the duality to become whole again, sovereign. And now that opened my vision up fully again. And there's a rewiring going on within my brain. There's a rewiring going on within this physical body that is in relationship to the energies that I've integrated with from that galactic self and angelic self now. And all those energies, all of that is getting channeled in to Mother Earth. And there's many, many, many of us doing this. It's not just me. I'm not unique or special. I'm just a gear in a transmission that allows this engine of energy that we collectively hold to generate the MERKABA and the Stargate and to move us to someplace else. But as that individual, I'm just a fractal. What's happening now is I'm quite aware of the oneness that we all are, that everything is, that my angelic self sees as this galaxy. But I'm also, and more than ever now, so grateful to be in human form because we get to experience it from this side. And those parts of us, like my Anterion self or angelic self, gets to experience it from that side because we have merged. The energies are so very wonderful. Yes, we're going to avatar capabilities. I explained before in many, many videos, and I'm saying this at 3300. That's funny. How perfect, because 33 is mastery. I've explained before many times how our chakras are energetic portals, but just like are pictured on a chakra chart, it has various petals to the flower. That those petals overlay that individual chakra, and each one of those petals are energetic portals that have various avatar abilities. And when you go through your 6th ascension initiation and you activate the original 7 chakras, from there to the 7th initiation, you have to expand them 7 times. And that adds more petals to the flower that is individually energetic portals that give us other avatar abilities. And then as you expand more and you turn spherical, you turn that ascension column and then you go spherical, there's energetic portals just like those same petals on the flower that are shown in the chakra charts that are on the exterior of our being. They're on top of our arms. They're out in space around us. We're expanding that. I'd said many times before that years ago my messages came in that in me as a builder and a tool maker and construction guy and machinist and all that, it's like going to Home Depot and having a certain amount of time before the shift, and say you've got 15 minutes, which is that shift. The other end point of that time is the shift point of the shift of the ages, the the planetary ascension. We have this ability to go, like, I'll use Home Depot for an example here. You could go into Home Depot and you've got so many minutes to go in and get all the tools that you want and get those boxes out to your truck and go in and get more. It's like it's like going into the tube and grabbing for dollars or something. But you could go in and get all these different tools and get them to your vehicle, and then once the time limit or the shift is there, then you don't really know how to use all the tools, but then you can open those boxes and learn how to use those tools. It's the same flower petals avatar abilities that are within the chakras. And so from that point, my message was to forget learning how to use the tools and going down those portals right now. Expand your light body. Get as much tools as you can until the shift occurs. And that's been my messages for so long. And that's just a game. Once we get on this process, now I realize there's no real limitations or stop points. It's all in our own consciousness. We're all creating our own realities and our story and our experience here on Earth. And much of what I'm doing now is exactly what I've envisioned all my life. Even as a child, I saw myself like Jesus after the transfiguration with that big globe of light, which is now visible, and ascending off the surface of the planet. And I chose to hold that vision all my life. And now, rather than ascending off the surface of the planet, something that I told my twin flame, the one who activated me, there's many twin flames too, by the way, as it's all fractals, but the one who activated me, Wendy Moira Angela Darling, opposite Tinkerbell, the one who activated me, I told never mind, I'm going to leave that story alone. That's a personal one. Oh, I just have so much love, so much bliss with these new energies and new frequencies. I know many of you guys are feeling it too. The more we focus on these higher vibrations, the more we're anchoring them into Mother Earth, and the more they go out into the collective of humanity, and more this Earth shifts. And that's what we're here to do. Nothing else matters at this point. You can play any game that you wish. We are truly bringing heaven to earth, and at the same time, we are transporting earth to heaven. Rather than leaving planet and going someplace else. Okay. What I had told Wendy Moira Angela Darling so long ago is we're bringing Mother Earth with us, and we're taking all of humanity with us, like it or not, kicking or screaming, and that's what we're doing. And they can release their karma and density and go with the flow. Of course, there's a sign every time that air conditioner just clicked on that second. You can release your egos and your karma and your density and your past and your separation and your individualism, and and expand your consciousness into all that is, and to live within these new frequencies that we're each bringing on the planet right now. Or you can experience the crap trying to hold on to the old that is collapsing right now. It's a choice as to where we put our vibrations. Many of us are understanding how critical it is all throughout July to hold the integrations that we are downloading. Like in my field, holding the integrations of my Anterion self and my angelic self, and bringing those vibrations of heaven to earth. It's all focusing on Mother Earth right here and now. Everything, the whole galaxy is focused on Mother Earth. That's why there's so many ETs around us. We are doing something that has never been done before. We're reversing and going way past how we got to this position within the density, the outer edges of the Milky Way Galaxy in the first place. We're doing the same thing in reverse, but rather than in that Milky Way Galaxy, we went from this point to this point, we are going all the way past that and going to the center. We've completed that which was the divine plan, to experience duality, so that Creator could experience itself, so that so many of those 100 trillion stars with all their planets and all their life forms that are within this galaxy could experience the duality experiment. And that's what all this was all about. Pretty cool, huh? We've all, each and every person on this planet has been so privileged to be a part of this. Many don't recognize that. They haven't come to that level of consciousness, awareness, expansion. They will. Everybody will. This is a very glorious time, and it is, there's been no other time like this ever. We're going from the lowest and most dense vibrations and dimensions at the outer edge of this galaxy, the edge of the merry-go-round, where you're getting slung off into that density, and we're going to move back to center, back to heaven, back to paradise, back to the mansion worlds. That's what this is all about. I know people are going to think that on July 29th that happens in an instant. It does not happen in an instant unless everybody focuses on the shift. And I'm talking the collective of humanity. We can see how the Milky Way Galaxy is doing some strange things as we spiral in, but the constellations that we're within, which revolve around Alcyon and the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, how those constellations remain the same. And so those are just a few of the telltale signs that we're moving. And it's almost like water in a bathtub going down a drain. You know, the water looks still until it enters that wormhole, that spiral, as it's going down the drain. That wormhole that goes down the pipe. So we're spinning right now, and you can see it in the Milky Way Galaxy, but the wormhole is just forming. The Stargate, which is on, the Anterion conversion, has already been activated. Our position of the other wormhole is fixed, but it's quite large, and it could shift places depending on the collective consciousness. All of those of us holding the higher vibrational energies. Any one of us that are holding energies that some of us are attuning to now can counteract millions of persons in negative vibration. I'm talking millions, maybe tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions. I don't know that one for sure, but that's what we're doing. Notice the world hadn't blown up itself. It's because of all the work that we're all doing, each and every one of us working as a transmission, years within that transmission together. It takes all of us. I'm nothing special. I'm just doing my part. You're doing your part. Together, we form the machine, a functioning machine. And that machine, that engine, has been turned on now. That is what occurred on June 30th, 2013. The engine was started up. And we're moving fast. And so, how long it takes us to go through this wormhole to the other side, that's yet to be seen. Whether it's just the localized universe that revolves around Pleiades, or even that revolves around Sirius, I don't know. That's yet to be seen. So, if we're moving all of that, I had a message not too long ago concerning those persons who were unawakened in humanity and still in the lower vibrations, and how they would affect the coordinates of where we go to. You got to remember, it's not just those persons on planet Earth that's moving out of here. We have much galactic help that is moving along with us through this portal. They want to go too, but the center focus is right here on Earth. We each have counterparts that are aboard the ships above us. We each have connections to the angelic realms that we descended from, we are fragmented from. And as we start removing those dark God particles, clearing up our emotions, energy and motion, clearing up our karma, bringing home our fractals in to ourselves, so that we can integrate with our ET selves, which is us. We all have light beings there, which want to merge with us here. And we attune to our angelic presence on the galactic scale. Which in truth, we're all just one anyway. But we are going back up those fractals there. That's what we're doing. We're reintegrating that. The more of us that do that, the more we see the shifts on Earth. I mean, we bring Earth into heaven. It's happening here as well as it's happening on the opposite side of this wormhole, this portal. It's all fractals. It's all fractals. Doesn't matter where you look, it's all fractals. So anyway, 48 minutes. My message throughout this month is hold the energies, not necessarily of my galactic Arcturian self, but of the angelic self, and channel those energies of the whole galaxy into planet. And that's the message I keep getting. There's been several persons which have asked me to put focus on this or that, and which directs my consciousness. And I'm very clear on the message. Don't focus on any of that. Don't focus on the fragments. Focus on the whole, and channel that whole into Mother Earth right now. I think a lot of us are getting that message. So anyway, that's the video for today. Love you all. Wow is all I can say. Pretty amazing stuff, huh? I wish you could feel the energy that's in my field. I wish you could see the vision of what I'm now seeing. I wish you could feel the presence of the angelic being, which is me, which I'm integrating with now. It's the most amazing sensation, and I don't yet have words to put that into description, but I will. Anyway, love you all. Bye for now.